All right, Kayla, let's take a look at your paper. MLA format first. You need a space here, need a space here, but everything else is okay. It wasn't the 10th that you handed it in. You'd want to make sure that date was more up to date. So we want to put the 17th. You got an extra space here that you'll need to get rid of. Title's not the greatest thing in the world. I think you could definitely work on that. So you start off with a quote from the play, which, again, you have space issues. You need a space here, not a space here. That you'll need to fix. Means that things that are ugly will become beautiful. Now, before you get too far into this, you still need to bring up the play and the author, because if you're talking about a book, we need to make sure we know who it's from. So make sure you bring that up before too long here. Maybe you could maybe get away with it not in the first sentence, but after that, you definitely need to bring it up. I actually really like this concept that prediction they give to Macbeth is beautiful to him. And I really like that idea, and I really like the idea that this is where Macbeth's downfall sort of started, but you kind of jump really quick into he had post-traumatic stress disorder, here are his symptoms, and then jumping from there. Okay, now this is what I talked about in class, and maybe I didn't make myself clear a number of different ways. When you list all your points right here, does it make any sense to, again, just list them in the very next sentence at the beginning? Probably not. So if you're going to list all your points here, don't bother listing them in your thesis statement. So I'd go back and change it. That just kind of makes it very clunky. When you mention post-traumatic the first time, put the PTSD right after it. That way, from now on, you can refer to it as PTSD. Your thesis statement is weak. Remember, I told you I don't want you just to say that he had these things and it led to his downfall, because otherwise all you're going to be able to say in your body paragraphs is he had symptoms and it led to his downfall, and that's it. So you're going to want to make that much more specific. And again, I would love to elongate some of this paragraph. I think you have 5 sentences. I'd love to see you at least at 7 sentences, Kayla. It's not a bad first paragraph. You pretty much have everything in there that you need, but we just need to make it better is all. So not a bad start, though. So as we look at your first body paragraph, it's about trust issues. Number 1, you have to make sure that you cite outside sources. I know for a fact this is a direct quote from the internet, but you didn't. It's not in quotes, so I'm assuming it's your own words, but yet you didn't in-text cite it. So that is technically plagiarism, Kayla, so you have to fix that. So you bring up a really good point that Macbeth has trust issues. Now, here again, this is going to be a little bit broken record from the introduction. Everything you have in here is actually pretty good stuff. The idea that he lost trust in Banquo because he didn't trust him, Macduff because he didn't trust him, and then you even have a decent transition in here. So you actually have most everything that we need in here. Here's things that I want you to add. Number 1 is obviously to quote outside sources. Number 2, I would love to see a quote from the play in here as well. Number 3, you have to elongate your thoughts. You can't just say them as quickly as possible. Explain the trust issues that he had with Banquo. Why didn't he trust him? And why does that make sense as a symptom of PTSD? So really elongate that. Why didn't he trust Macduff? And explain the whole keeping a servant fed in his house concept as an example of why he didn't trust Macduff. So go back through and really elongate this. This is a run-on sentence too, so you have to go back and fix that. You have a comma splice here. But again, I mean, the bones of it, Kayla, are really good. I think you have a really good flow and so on and so forth. So don't mess with that. You just got to elongate some of these things. And then also, and led him to having hallucinations. So you want to, it's a homophone error there. So the next one is about hallucinations. All right, Kayla, you cannot have all this plagiarism in here. So you have a beginning sentence here. Explain what hallucinations are. You don't cite it. This whole section basically is plagiarized. This obviously is plagiarized because you actually had at least a little bit of a sense to say citation, but that's not how you cite a source, and it's not in quotes at this particular case. This is exactly word for word from eNotes. This is from eNotes. So when I get you to your works cited page, though, you don't even cite eNotes. So it's even doubly bad. And it's really hard for me to grade a paper when I know a lot of these things aren't your own words. So he sees hallucinations. You bring up the most obvious ones, which are the daggers, Banquo's ghost, and then the witches at the end. But again, you don't have a good thesis statement, so it's really hard to tie them all together. You don't use a quote from the story to try to explain things or whatever else. So you do have at least a transition in here going to the next paragraph, so that's good too. But we really have to work on making sure if it's not our own words, that it's cited, that it's something that we are showing our readers that I got that information from somewhere else. So you have to work on that for the next draft. All right, Kayla, again, several statements in here are not your own words. There's no citation. And in fact, the only time you ever mention Macbeth is one little sentence right here. And that's it. So we obviously have a problem with this paragraph, that you're not at all connecting this to Macbeth. You're not at all elaborating on this relationship that he has to these negative changes in his beliefs and feelings, which this should be an easy one to even think about how his beliefs and feelings change, his feelings of his friends change, his beliefs in wanting to kill Duncan change. I mean, you could bring up a lot of different examples in the play of how that works. So anyways, you definitely got to fix that. All right, when you get to the conclusion, you need to restate your thesis, which is here. Remember, we're going to fix this thesis, though. You have a run-on sentence here that you try to define downfall at the end, so don't need that. And then you go through and summarize your main points, which you do, but make sure you do them in order. So the first main point you talked about is first, second main point is second, third is third. You don't do this. You got some comma errors in here. Last, comma, you have a capitalization thing here, this is a run-on sentence anyway. Way, comma, shape, comma, or form. You have a run-on sentence here that you need to fix. Run-on sentence here, and I see where you get the title from. I just don't think that's effective when you get to the very end and it's there. Works cited goes all the way up here. You got to move the whole thing up here. And obviously we've talked about how you didn't do any in-text citation. So that needs to change. And again, the places that you plagiarize from aren't even listed here. So if you actually are going to keep those words and put them in quotes, then you're going to need to make sure that you do that. All right, so a lot of work to do, Kayla. Hopefully we'll see a better draft out of you next time.